Hello everybody, Zeidoktor here with Typical Manga Fan, and this episode of the Typical Manga Review is dedicated to My Hero Academia, Chapter 95, The End of the Beginning and the Beginning of the End. And we're pretty much in the aftermath of the previous chapter's battle with All for One. Like, the very next morning everything was pretty much pretty chaotic. Like, the Communal Ward was like half destroyed. And it's like All Might's true form, like they're reading that in the newspaper. You know, I have to admit, one thing I like about this manga are the crowd shots, because he's like just letting his imagination go here. Like, you got like this night guy in the talk show.
Yeah.
It's almost like Kinnikuman or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, basically this guy, he's like the leader of the police, right? So
definitely we're dealing with the police here.
yeah, is he the leader though? Or is he?
I don't know if the police. I think the police chief is like this guy with like a dog head.
Oh, okay. So he's a higher up. So
Yeah.
he basically talks about how, like, that warehouse was a fake in the first place and not great for carrying biological weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to collect all the personal information about the villains from the bar, and everything's under investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, Shigaraki and the rest of his lot have all managed to escape as per the plan of All for One. And then he's like, oh, well, I guess this is a tire, more or less. And then the guy's like, no, you moron, we lost our symbol of peace.
Yep.
So he actually understands what's going on.
Yeah.
All Might's
Yeah, go ahead.
All Might's weakened form was revealed to everyone. Everyone sees that, and the symbol of peace that will never fall is no more.
Yep.
I will say that even though All Might's weakened form was revealed, he actually did inspire a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, it's like he's still, like, the fact that he kept going on despite all that is still, like, he is like a very good hero character in that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like, this hero, the symbol of peace is no more, like, not to the citizens and not to the villains. That is the price we pay for having so much rest on one person's shoulders. And the world was able to see what could happen if a group of idiots gathered together and tried to do something.
And they basically talk about how Shigaraki is becoming. At first, he was like a child, like having a child tantrum. But then he's starting to get smarter. He's more powerful. He's growing, and it's clear that this is All for One, kind of grooming him to be the next evil leader.
Yeah.
And then they even say, like, and with all the might we've had, we've now got even fewer deterrents than before, and the number dwindles by the day. Every time the league fails, they get stronger. So this is definitely something that Deku has to watch out for.
Yeah.
And
so
then
these guys are, like I said, you can beat them, but they're still going to keep coming back.
And they say, maybe this is actually part of the plan. Are we being too negative? And he's like, I don't know, but we have to capture them. We, the police, can no longer just sit around and just receive the criminals. We have to reform our ways.
Yeah.
So now they actually going to have to go on the offensive.
Yep. And also, one thing that might be relevant here. Again, I know you said you watched the anime up to episode 10, and you know that you've read up on the wikis. One thing about the police is they do not use their quirks.
Yeah.
I think the way I understand is, like, in the early days of when quirks were rising, it was a rule that they instituted with themselves to keep the public trust.
Yeah.
But now I think that might be changing now with this.
Yeah. And then we go back, but we go to All Might, or now it's just Todoroki. Oh wait, what's his name again? I keep forgetting it.
Toshinori,
because it's that toad. It starts with the toe. We go to Toshinori, who basically says, like, the last of the flames are out. The symbol piece is dead. I can't be All Might anymore.
Yep.
But there's still stuff I have to do. And then they talk about Shigaraki Tomura, who was Shimura's grandson, and they say, well, that's what he just claimed, right? And then there's like, well, did we?
It's possible but the fact is, like, he asked if they ever had any contact with the generation in between, like Shimura's children, but
or Shigaraki's parents.
Well, yeah, same thing.
No, I'm just saying, like, from another perspective.
Yeah. But Shimura's husband was killed, and I don't know if an accident or just killed. So she actually put her son up for adoption or foster care to put him away from the risk. Well, put her child.
Actually, the reason why I wanted to look at it from the perspective of Shigaraki, as in his parents rather than her children, is because what happened to him as a child?
Yeah.
Where was his parents? Because at that point he was already grown up, right? So they had become adults. So it was supposedly their job to kind of raise him and protect him, but they weren't there.
Right.
So I actually, instead of seeing it from Shigaraki, because they didn't do it so far, they didn't become villains, at least from what our knowledge.
Right.
But
we don't know what to say, but that's a safe assumption.
Yeah. Shigaraki did, and so I think it's safer to look at it from Shigaraki's point of view of the previous generation, rather than being Nana's children, are his parents, because it is their disappearance that I think might be the reason why he became the way he was, because no one came for him.
Yeah.
when he needed someone.
Also, kind of continuing on with the chapter, there's Shimura told All Might and Gran Torino that under no circumstance was she to contact her or find out if you're missing on the child, even if the worst were to happen to her.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
and the detective there is like, and by keeping that promise, this all happened. Well, that's miserable.
yeah. So All Might's like, well, we have to for Toshinori. I'll call him All Might because he is All Might.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves that much, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, so he says, well, we have to find Shigaraki, and if I do, then Gran Torino's like, no. What would you do if you found him? You know, you're no longer capable of seeing him as a villain. You will be at a complete loss. No matter what his lineage is, at the end of the day, he's a criminal. I love Gran Torino. He's also a bit of a hard teacher too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's part if you end up following up on the manga, like I said, you'll see that too.
Vomiting. No. I know Toshinori vomited when he was being taught by him.
Well, I was just mostly thinking about the fact that how he also trains Deku like pretty well too.
Yeah, I know that too.
Yeah.
And so from now on, the search for Shigaraki will be handled by Tsukachi. I can't say it. Tsukachi. Yeah, and myself. You will remain a UA and carry out what you must do. Which, even if you can no longer be the simple piece, All Might is still alive, and that is in Deku. Yep. And so Deku basically now narrates. He takes over the narration. He's like, we met up with Todoroki and the rest, and took Kacha to the police. That's funny.
Well, probably just so he could like be interviewed and debriefed.
I know, but it's still funny to me. It's just the line itself. Because I hate Bakugo. Kacha was quiet, and not even a half day later, we all went our separate ways, and they all say goodbye. Basically, their own ways of doing it.
Yep.
Shoucho meets up with the sister, and then she's like, oh, by the way, that guy just got back a little while ago, and he's been like that since.
Because you can see stuff like crashing, some noise of crashing stuff in the hallway there.
Yeah, but Shoto shows no fear, and he walks into Endeavor's training room, and Endeavor's pretty pissed off. And I think it's because Endeavor, he can't accept it. He's like, the fact that All Might went out, like, he basically lost his chance to really to personally surpass All Might.
Two things here. One, because we were kind of talking about this earlier with the Sports Festival tournament, this is a very Bakugo-ish reaction.
Yeah.
Two, there's also very karmic. Be careful what you wish for thing going here.
The thing about Bakugo, and I think to me, what Endeavor did to get to the way he looks at it, I think he's borderline the villain. Like he's I feel like he started out as a hero for good reasons, and then I think he slowly got corrupted by his obsession with defeating the number one guy, and that turned him into what basically is a villain. So he's on kind of like he's still leaning towards a hero, but you can see that a lot like Bakugo. It's
kind of like a hero for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, you're getting close to the dark side, man. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Which also has the karma of how he got the credit for Stain's defeat.
Yeah. Was he pissed off about that?
Endeavor, no. I don't know about Stain, but I imagine he would be.
Yeah, because Endeavor wants a fair shot, and so the fact that All Might is no longer there is kind of pissing him off. He's like, no, I can't. This is not right. But going back to Deku's family. Yeah. We have his mom.
Yeah. And it's like basically she's like must have had a hard time just like coming back here after all that stuff with the All Might, huh?
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm not sure how much she knows about the All Might situation, but because I think she just thinks like his quirk just came in really, really late.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that'll ever come up. But anyway,
I think it'll come up like towards the end of the manga.
Yeah, and Deku's kind of wondering if he really did the right thing, going back as he did and trying to help. And he falls asleep. He wakes up, and before he even wipes the drool off his face, he sees he's got something on his phone that gets him running out of the house.
Later. That's like Sasuke. Later. or Goku.
Well, no, Goku would have eaten dinner first.
Oh, you're right. He would have eaten. Then he would be like later.
He goes to meet All Might on the beach, which I think is the beach he trained at.
Yep. And then All Might's like, took you long enough, Texas, smash! It's actually hilarious. He actually hurts Deku.
Yeah, and he's coughing up blood while he does it.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, you have a really hard time doing what you're told. That was inches from the edge. Who says you take after me? It's like,
so basically, All Might's like, I'm retiring. Like, I can't do this anymore. And then he actually tries to become the muscular All Might, and he actually stays there for like a second, and then goes back to little weak Toshinori.
Yeah. The embers of one for all have gone out, and on top of that, he can't maintain the muscle form anymore. And that'd be saying to you, every single time, no matter how many times you're told, you come flying out of nowhere looking for trouble. No matter how many times you're told, you continue to break your body. And that's why he reads stuff where Deku kind of flinches. It's like, this time, for the first time, you were able to get yourself out of harm's way without getting hurt. That makes me incredibly happy.
Yeah. Yeah, you had this really. He's a crybaby. He's like, you really do have a hard time doing as you're told. How many times have I told you to stop being a crybaby?
He also promises, like, from here on out, he's devoting himself to Deku's development. Despite his condition, they'll do their best.
Well, it's not like he's gonna do anything strenuous.
Well, yeah.
He's just gonna sit there and be like, "Hey, Deku, go lift that gigantic piece of metal." That's what he did the first time. He was just "Hey, Deku, go do this shit."
While I sit on it.
Yeah, while I sit on it. Well, he won't be as heavy anymore, but still a lot of weight to carry.
Anyway, and then Deku also was like, the weak, lingering pain in the cheek, like, told me each straw, but one thing: this was the end of the Age of All Might.
Yeah, we basically got told that last time.
Yeah, but it's just like this is just like hitting him properly.
Yeah. Sorry, say that again.
It's like this, this is where it kind of really hits him for the first time. This is happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not the first time, but like this is him. You said it being proper.
Like hitting him. Like, it's actually hitting Deku. Like he already knew, like, intellectually, but this is like where actually like he realized, like, oh, God,
emotionally,
this is happening. Yeah, there we go.
Well, then he cried last time too, so I don't know. He cries a lot, so
he does.
But I mean, I feel like to me I look at it as like this is a confirmation. Like this is there's no possible way that All Might could actually come back. This is it. This has been proven to me because I think the reason why he got that last time is because All Might basically said it. So he got it from All Might, but this is him seeing it for himself, saying like, All Might trying to be that muscular form again, and he can't do it. Which reminds me, is Deku going to actually have his own muscular form or what?
I don't know. I can't help but take the impression that he'd be the type to like go by speed and wire agility.
Yeah.
I mean, for among other things, his costume is rabbit-like.
Because he can only use the strength right now, like the strength part of it. He can't fast.
I think he can only use like a small percentage of it of the full.
Yeah, he can only use like 5% or something like that.
I think it's like 10 now, but yeah, still.
Yeah, basically not much. I mean, he can use the whole percentage. He'll be out of action.
Yeah, and that's not really very good as a hero. Yeah. And they also, anyway, at the end of the chapter, there's like a little advertising blurb, and it says next chapter, a color cover, which ought to be cool.
Yeah. So basically we get a basic continuation of the last chapter. Basically a full-on transition.
Yeah, we got proper aftermath issues going on here.
Hey, at least there's no 1 month time skip that we don't notice.
Yeah, there might be a time skip. I don't know, maybe like at least a few weeks or something.
We better notice it. It better be for like a reason. I mean, of course, there's going to be a time skip, obviously, but I mean, it better make it like not be like what the frick just happened type of time skip.
I do wonder, like, just I do want to see more aftermath of all this though, because like basically like the public's top hero is done. Like he's used up all his last power and he's got to retire now. So how's that going to work out?
Well, I'll say this from the anime, we do apparently know that eventually Deku will become number one.
Yeah, I think that is in the manga narration of that chapter too.
Cool, awesome. Because I don't ever want to hear Baku being number one ever again.
Well, like I said, I can at least settle for maybe going back and forth.
Sorry?
I can settle for them maybe going back and forth a bit.
No. Baku's got to be number two. No. That asshole cannot get satisfaction at the end. He cannot. If he's gonna be like that for the rest of his, like, even if he's better, you need to get reward. I feel like people like Deku should get rewarded in the long term, in the long run. We get this whole thing about redemption, but at the same time, it's better not to do something bad than to do it. Than to do it once and then redeem yourself. It's just better not to do it at all. You should get rewarded for that. And I feel like Deku, being the way he is, should be number one all the effing time. Okay, he shouldn't be changing with Bakugo. He should, Naruto should not change, not be co-Hokage. No, he is the Hokage. Sasuke's your bitch, okay?
Yeah. Well, he kind of is. I mean, because he's going on the way missions. But seriously, what I would think would be the best development for Bakugo would be to eventually come to the point where he doesn't care about his ratings. Which,
good.
Like, where he doesn't care about being 1, 2, or whatever.
Well, I mean, think with Vegeta. Vegeta eventually stopped caring about being number one. He accepted the fact that Goku was always going to be number one. I mean, that wouldn't stop him from trying to have a rivalry with Goku. But I think that's the same thing. Like, but he has to always be number two, regardless. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it doesn't matter to him. But he cannot get that top position. Like, he can never do it because it would kind of ruin that that realization that Goku, you will always be number one. It's the same thing with this. Like Bakugo can make it so that he will never care about being number one, but he also can't be number one. Like it doesn't make sense to me that the moment you like that people like some people I talked about this before on Twitter. Like it doesn't make sense to me for you to say, oh, I have come to this realization that I will never be number one, and have that be your character development moment, and then become number one like 5 days later. It should not ever be like that. It doesn't mean anything unless you accept and actually go through the fact that you will never be number one, and that's fine.
Actually, here's a kind of interesting thought. I don't know if I'm going to word this right, so bear with me a second. But let's say like towards the end, Deku does become number one hero, and then Bakugo goes wherever he is.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like Deku's got to step down, or like something happens, or maybe he's got to like go undercover or something like that, and then with that Bakugo becomes number one. But he's actually more accepting of the fact of why.
Gurren Lagann. That's Gurren Lagann. No.
Or you think like how Rasu became president or something?
Yeah. No. I don't like that. I'm the type of guy who doesn't want. I get it. He won't care by then, but it still to me doesn't mean as much as him actually going through the fact, like actually experiencing the fact that he will never be number one. He can never be number one. Like as I said, Vegeta can never be number one because he accepted that he would never be number one. So him becoming number one, even for a split second, retroactively changes that and makes it not as meaningful.
I would disagree if he ends up becoming number one because he realized he would number one.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like that doesn't make sense to me because the whole point.
Well, it depends on why he strives for it. I think.
No, but the whole point of that realization is because you accept it as an inevitable reality. Otherwise, if it's not an inevitable reality, then there's no point of accepting it, right? And that's exactly why Vegeta had a problem with. He was never able to truly reach his potential in the first time because when he went Super Saiyan, he said, "I don't care about being a Super Saiyan." And for that one moment, he actually was quote unquote pure and got Super Saiyan. And then he went back and said, "Oh well," it's like that type of thing where you say, "Oh, I pray to God, like if I win this game, then I'll be religious." And then you win the game, and then you're like, "Well, I don't want to be religious." It's like it feels like you're going back on your word.
I think to me it's more like you're trying too hard, kind of like you try so hard, you strive so hard to get this one thing that you want so badly, but it's precisely because you're trying so hard that you're never going to get it. But by realizing that maybe you won't get it this way, that's what changes things and maybe makes you able to get it. That's
different from accepting that you will never be number one, though. That's a little different.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like that's actually more like Naruto than like Sasuke or Vegeta or something like that. Where again, the reason why it's a big moment in their lives is because they realize that it can never change. It will never happen. And they have to look, and the point is that they're looking for something else to fulfill their desires now. Like whether it be just a rivalry, whether it be having a family, but them becoming they cannot become number one because then that makes it a reality, and that makes it so that the original realization that it was never going to happen, not actually be real. Like that's not true. So that's why I'm saying it retroactively changes the kind of like the realization to yourself of the inevitability. It's sort of like in the movie Ratatouille, they had this saying where a cook, anyone can be a cook, and then people thought, oh, it meant that anyone could strive, and then if they try hard enough, they'll reach that point. But the movie actually ends, spoiler alert, but it's been out for like 10 years already. That look, the main character Linguini will never become a good chef. He just doesn't have what it takes. That's a fact. It is that. There are people that people who can be reached the top can come from anywhere, but that doesn't mean anyone can be the best chef. Like they make that point very strongly. Like not everyone is cut out for this. And you have to accept that. Like sometimes you can't be the best, or you cannot. Maybe sometimes you don't be even good at it. And I feel like that's the same thing where Bakugo and Vegeta, and they're sticking with this with they're sticking with this with Vegeta so far.
He's definitely the better. A lot of people like to compare Bakugo to Sasuke, but Vegeta really is the better comparison.
Yeah. But Bakugo cannot be number one at the end of the manga. He cannot because specifically if he makes this realization that he will never be number one or that Deku will be better than him, he has to accept that and move on. Because if he gets that satisfaction, it means that he doesn't really move on, or if anything, it means that his realization is a lie. It was not true. It was just him tricking himself into believing it was true, and that's a character development, and it's not. It's really not character development. Again, it goes back to the whole I'm not religious. I'll pray if I'm not. And I will pray to God every day if I win this game. And then when you win the game, you're like, well, I don't really want to pray, because I already won. It's all like, no, you have to stick with what you said to yourself, whether it is actually the case or not. Whether you actually become number one or whatever.
Yeah. For Bakugo, like, I think rather than have him realize he'll never be number one, I'd like to see him reach a point where he no longer cares about being number one.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's not quite the same thing as you're thinking. You're thinking he's realizing he'll never do it. I'm thinking, like, even if he did get it, it wouldn't be as big a deal to him later as it is now.
Okay, but that's still really for the reader. I mean, for him, that's fine. For the reader, being with Deku this entire time and not getting and seeing that people think Bakugo is better than him, it won't go well with the reader.
Well,
I mean,
I don't think there's really much risk of that. I mean, because we'll see. I mean, Deku has kind of like a low reputation among the populace right now because of his performance in the sports festival.
Well, that's going to change though. I mean, it's the same thing with Naruto. Naruto didn't really do much until the pain fight, and then people started liking him. It's the same thing. Like, people always like Sasuke more, and I was okay with that as long as in the end he gets what he wants. It's like you're telling me Naruto doesn't care about being Hokage. It's like that's what I was scared of in Naruto. Like, Naruto at the end says, "Oh, you know what? I don't care about being Hokage anymore. Sasuke, you can have it." It's like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
The thing with Deku is Deku doesn't really care about being number one hero.
No, he
just cares about being a hero.
Yeah, he cares about being a hero, but I think he wants to be All Might, and All Might is technically greatest. I mean, and again, as I said, he said he was the greatest hero.
Yeah, I mean, he aspires to be if he aspires to be number one for any reason, it's because of All Might's influence. But in and of himself, I think he's more about being a hero than being the hero.
Also, I think I said a few minutes ago about how it doesn't matter whether he becomes number one. I go back and I misspoke. It does matter, but the thing is, though, like, yeah, it doesn't matter to him, and that's fine. But the problem, I think, is just that it feels like for the reader, it's like the people who don't care should be the one that gets rewarded with being the top. Like, but in the sense that way, Deku doesn't care. Yeah. The way Bakugo, the problem is Deku never cared. So it's just he wants to be.
Bakugo is his end all be all because his thing is he wants to win.
Yeah. So him winning at the end, but not caring, just to me just doesn't serve any real long-term purpose. It's not right. I mean, it's like Naruto deciding, oh, I don't want to be Hokage anymore. And it's like, okay, that's fine if you don't want to be Hokage, because some people's dreams change. But having Sasuke be the Hokage after he just decided he wanted to be Hokage after like 5 minutes, it's just it doesn't really flow really well. And that's the problem I have with Bakugo, where Bakugo being number one, whether he cares about it or not, feels like you're rewarding a character.
I will agree that Bakugo probably should not reach number one rank. But I would just like to see him reach a point where it doesn't matter to him if he ever.
No. That in itself is fine. In fact, that's what I want. That he should stop caring. That is actually what I can see being his character development. I just don't think that by doing so he therefore becomes number one. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, I never thought about that at all. I never thought about that one or the other.
I thought you mentioned that.
I don't. Not in that sense, I don't think. Or at least if I did, I don't think I meant it that way.
Basically, I'll say it again. Bakugo not caring about number one is fine, but not caring about number one and therefore that making him being number one will piss me off.
Well, because I think maybe what you're thinking was like, maybe because I said like not stopping caring about number one, it might be what makes him capable of becoming number one, but not necessarily mean he'll reach it.
Oh, you say that again?
Like, he might become capable of becoming number one by no longer caring about it, but I don't know that's not saying he probably should be number one.
Yeah, that's more of a compromise, and I'm okay with that. I just, at the end of the day, though, it should be Deku. Like, because again, you want to reward. I mean, redeeming. Like I said, the redeeming thing is always great and all, but you want to reward a character for being good the entire way. It's not fair that I mean, we always talk about being goody two shoes, being so bland, but no, it's still not. It's not fair for someone to never commit a crime to be lower than a guy who committed a crime but is really sorry for it and is doing all this community charity work to be sorry about that. At the end of the day, it's better just not to have done that in the first place, whether you feel sorry about it or not.
I think there's a balancing act there as far as storytelling goes.
Well, I just don't think Baku should ever be number one. I just think it sends. I just think it sends the wrong message. That's all.
I could get behind that in that sense, like because versus Deku at least. Todoroki could go either way.
Because what does it tell the reader? I mean, what does it really tell the reader? I mean, we can talk about how, oh, well, you can analyze the shit.
Well,
but in face value, it still tells the reader, he's still, hey, you can be number one if you act like this asshole and just be sad about one set, you know.
Well, if that were to happen, if Bakugo became number one, there's almost certainly become a moral about how being number one isn't all that big a deal.
Yeah. Except it is. It is a big deal. Okay, this is a bit of a life lesson. Being number one is a big deal. It matters. And I think Mia Hamm said this of all. If you say winning doesn't matter, if you say winning isn't everything, then you have never won a day in your life. Winning matters. Being number one does matter. And I'm not gonna. And I know this whole hero thing is like, you know, about being better than that. If you're gonna take this as a life lesson, don't, because being number one does matter, and you're never going to change that. That's the way life is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you should not give that message to anyone. That's why I'm against Bakugo being number one, because being number one, whether he cares about it or not, does matter, and people will take that away from being, you know, the story.
And at the very least, he should never become number one at Deku's expense. That's for sure.
That's for sure. That is 100%. And I don't want Deku to be like, I don't care, therefore you have it. No. Deku can be number one and not care. But Bakugo can't be number one because that's what he used to want.
Yeah.
And so it would feel like he's going back to his old. It just feels like it's like telling people like you'll get rewarded for being like that, and then change your mind for only like for a certain part of your life, and then going back to it. It just sends the really wrong, inconsistent message. Just be good just be good. Don't be an asshole, and you'll get you'll get your reward. You know. I think that's a better, more succinct message than whatever the hell Bakugo might go through, you know? Because Bakugo is a guy who's on the border of being a villain all the time. He's an asshole, and yeah, he'll reach a point where his character development will tell him that, you know, oh, he's not a bad guy. He's not gonna be that bad of a guy. He'll be better than Endeavor.
Oh, easily.
But
if there's any potential to his development, he'll definitely be better than Endeavor.
Yeah, because I think they're trying to make him kind of like the Endeavor-ish type of person.
Like, they're definitely drawing the parallels.
Yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, like it's like for example, if you tell me that Endeavor lived the rest of his days as number one, being rich and having a lot of having a lot of money and shit like that, but he's like, oh, but he didn't care in the end. It's like, that doesn't tell me anything. He's rich. He got a lot of money. He can number one. I mean. Yeah, you telling me he doesn't care. To me, it seems like it seems to be like the life right there. So you want to make sure that the audience doesn't feel like they're being taken away by the moral rewards of this. Like, you know, it feels like they want to make sure, you want to make sure that they are justified in supporting Deku and get something for it. You know,
get something for their trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, One Punch Man, whatever. That's a parody, and you know, there's something to that too.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's about, though. Like, we don't have people pining to be number one in One Punch Man. In this one, we do, and I feel again, is like Vegeta, like Bakugo, and like Sasuke, these guys can't be number one because it just sends the wrong message. All right.
Well, a bit of a dance. I think we kind of tangented it on there from the chapter
itself. I mean,
it
was still relevant to the series.
Oh yeah, the series as a whole for sure. And I definitely want to see what we'll be seeing in the next few chapters here. Because I wonder how much. I've said before. I wonder how much Bakugo will figure out about One for All. Because he knows enough. Like he knows that he got his quirk from someone else. He was quiet about the whole thing after All Might Now It's Your Turn bit. And he was watching Deku during that whole thing too. So I wonder if he's actually, and he's definitely, he's not stupid. I mean, he's actually got better test scores than Deku in actual class, academically.
Yeah, but I mean, Bakugo is supposed to be the natural genius, right? That's why. Yeah. Deku is supposed to be the guy who works hard, and I actually point out that I feel like Deku is actually Naruto done right. Yeah. Because Naruto talked about how he worked hard and shit like that, but he did. If you think about it, what did he do other than just yell? I mean, you see him run, you see him doing a lot of, you know, strenuous workout, but you don't see him training his mind. He was a slacker. He didn't care about school. He wasn't trying to hone all of his skills. He was just saying, "Oh, I'm going to work harder, and so I'm just going to spend 2 more hours training every day." And that's great and all, but that's not enough. You have to do stuff like hone your mind. You have to study. You have to think before you act. In
Bakugo's case, that's something he learned very early on in the series.
Bakugo? I mean Deku.
I think I lost track of who we meant there. Bakugo, like, he learned pretty early on that he was actually, like, not as all hot shit as he thought he was.
No, you're not. But no, I'm talking about Deku though. Like Deku was always the guy who to make up for the fact that he had no powers before, and the fact that he didn't have particularly any natural talent. He had to write down all the notes, make all the analysis, and study and think before he did anything. And that's why to me that's working hard. To Naruto is just like, I'm working hard, and look at me running 2 more laps than I'm supposed to. Okay.
You know, that reminds me of something on here. I don't think if I brought this up before, but if Deku ever had to fight All For One, I think he'd actually be more dangerous to All For One than All Might was. Because think about how All For One works. Like, he takes all these quirks and combines them. And
no, One For All. One
For All is the quirk.
Oh, okay.
Wait. All For One is the villain.
Oh, yeah, wait. Okay, this is what are you talking about the villain or are you talking about the...
I'm talking if Deku fought the villain.
Okay, yeah.
He'd probably be more dangerous to him than All Might was. Because All For One, the villain, he operates by taking all these quirks and mixing and matching them. But Deku's whole specialty is analyzing and utilizing quirks.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So he'd probably be more dangerous in a straight fight than All Might could.
Not to mention that it doesn't One For All also get stronger with each generation.
Yeah, I'm not even counting the power difference.
I know. I'm just saying, like, you got a double whammy there.
Like, that'd be an interesting thing to see. Like, once Deku was at that level, if he ever had to fight All For One again.
Well, it wouldn't be All For One. It would be Shigaraki having All For One's powers, probably.
Like I said, I don't know if All For One's powers work that way. But yeah, we'll see about how that goes.
Didn't they say he could forcibly give quirks? Can he just forcibly give all of his quirks?
Yeah, but I don't know if he can give his own quirk, though.
I'm pretty sure he can. Or at least just beat the bank. He can be a bank for Shigaraki. I mean, it's not that hard.
And I think that was part of the plan, actually. But
yeah. Also, you said that he. Okay, so well, not you said, but I know that the original the One For All was a combination of 2 powers. One which is just to give something to another person, and then the other power was the stockpile, right?
Right.
So I understand that they wouldn't realize that he had to give something to someone else because he didn't have anything to begin with, so you wouldn't know that. Mm-hmm. But what the hell could the stockpile power do by itself? Because the whole point of it is that it uses the passing on to become stronger. So before, how was that power?
It might have been able to become decently powerful on its own, but the stockpiling just kind of like snowballed it.
Well, what I'm saying is, what the stockpile quirk by itself? How did it work? Because you think about it,
we don't know enough. I think about that to be say just
yet. Because because it makes sense in terms of they're together and this is how they're doing it together, or how this is how the first one, like the one you can pass it on, makes. How it worked, but it didn't work before because there was nothing to give because he had nothing to begin with. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. Yep. But the stockpile power was something that All For One got. I'm assuming for someone else. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, how did that power by itself work?
If we ever get a proper flashback on there, we might get the reason at that point.
Yeah, because you couldn't pass it on back then. So how did you stockpile as you got older? I'm assuming.
Maybe, and then maybe he'll just take the power back, and then maybe he planned to do it that way.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't really. Would you really even notice that type of thing? Because I mean, when you get older, you're gonna get stronger no matter what. But maybe it was so obviously stronger. I don't know, because it's I mean, when you get older, you get stronger unless you get like 50, 40, and then you start going down. But I mean, like, so how would you know that? Oh, I have a quirk that stockpiles power, even though I can't pass it on, so I shouldn't be able to stockpile anything unless it stockpiles my age, and it just gets really weird if you think about it.
Like I said, maybe that was what he was planning to do. Like, he would give him the stockpiling quirk, let it do its thing, stockpile some power, then take it back, and if it wasn't strong enough, give it to somebody else, and then let the stockpiling continue.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but
the original One For All that got around it by being able to pass it on himself.
Yeah. So exactly. So how would he get it? So the guy who originally had it, or girl, how did that? I mean, how would you know that the person had it first off? And how would you? How would that be? How would it work?
Maybe I don't know. Without knowing for sure how it works, I mean, I can only just speculate that maybe the original user actually had developed some kind of super strength or extra power because of it.
Because they explained it with the other one. Like, they didn't know that the other guy had that power because there was no reason for it to work before. Right,
or at least no reason for anyone to suspect that it did what it did.
Yeah. So, which is basically just a miniaturized verb form, like a lesser form of All For One, because All For One basically does the same thing.
Well, All For One is that plus the stockpile.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah,
so it's literally a lesser form of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm talking about All For One as in like the evil one, right?
Oh. Well, All For One is all about taking powers from one person to another. Yeah,
but he can also give it, so therefore it ends up being the same thing that his brother did, right? Because he can also give it. It makes sense that he's just taking it, but he can also give it, so he has the whole spiel, whole kebab. But yeah, so I mean, that's I feel like that's a bit of a little bit maybe a plot hole. I mean, it depends on whether or not they want to explain it more. But if they don't explain it, that's a plot hole because there's no way. How would you know that that's a stock? How would you know it's a stockpile power? And how did that power work before going with the other power?
Like I can see that maybe the original wielder like having stockpiled at least a little bit of power enough to make it noticeable. Beyond that, I could not speculate.
Yeah, I feel like this is this needs explanation because it's part of the powers that the main character has. So I feel like.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some kind of flashback or history thing for the original All for One.
It's better. Yeah, I mean, it's better.
What I would like to see, like, since All Might is a teacher, like, let's say he goes in class one day, assigns everybody a homework assignment, like, I want you to pick a hero from this list I'm going to give you, and do research on them. And he gives Deku, like, a list of previous holders of One for All.
I
like,
see.
Nana Shimura and maybe whoever came before her.
But then he wouldn't actually know the person from because that was
not necessarily. But we don't know if they know about their predecessors.
No, but I'm talking about the one who just had the stockpile power because that came before the first guy.
Well, no, I mean,
whoever.
I'm talking about the original Wheeler of One for All going forward.
Oh yeah, okay. Then, I mean that's fine. I mean that probably might happen, but yeah. I mean there's nothing you really would too much crazy about that. I mean you would learn about the character and everything, but in terms of what I was trying to wonder about is like I don't think will ever learn that because you have to learn about how All for One who All for One got that from before he gave it to his brother.
Yeah, I mean there'd have to be a thing. If there's a flashback like that, it'd probably have to be from his point of view.
And if it's been 30 years, I mean, it actually passed on pretty quickly because that means like everyone had it. It's been there's been 8 guys.
Well, all things considered, I don't think people who would take One for All are people who you can expect to have a long life expectancy.
Exactly. So everyone had it for like what, 2 years? Or not more than that. 3 years,
well,
3 years.
We know All Might had it for at least a couple decades, I think.
Well, how long has it been since All for One came into power?
He was in the early days of Quirkdom.
Yeah, but how long is that?
At least 40, 50 years, I want to say.
Okay, so 40, 50 years. So we have about 8 guys, right?
Yeah.
So.
But like I said, that's my point, though. Like, these guys are generally heroes. Like, it's not. They're not exactly in a job where they expect to live long lives.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, so the guys before All Might didn't live that long.
Well, she didn't. No.
She didn't, but we don't know about the other 6 too.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, so, and that's what I'm hoping we hopefully find out about someday here.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, I think we're running a bit long here, so we're gonna think about time to cut it short. That's been our review of My Hero Academia, Chapter 95, the beginning of the end and the end of the beginning. Or did I flip that?
I have no idea.
End of the beginning, beginning of the end. I think
one
of those things.
It's like All for One and One for All, right?
Oh, hey, holy crap, you're right. Huh.
Yeah.
That is something to keep in mind. All right. Anyway, go ahead and take us away.
Bye.